Hello, I'm Paul Fletcher, Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister for Communications, and I'm here with Alastair MacGibbon, who has just been announced as the new Children's E-Safety Commissioner. Alastair, good to talk to you.
G'day, Paul.
Can you tell me a little bit about your background? What is it that you've been doing throughout your career?
Sure. Well, I started working in the Australian Federal Police in 1989. I spent 15 years as a federal agent. The last couple of years was as the founding director of the Australian High-Tech Crime Centre. I then took quite a radical shift and moved to a company many would know called eBay. I was the Senior Director of Trust and Safety at eBay, Australia and New Zealand, and then Asia Pacific, dealing with the protection of, in some cases, tens of millions or hundreds of millions of end users as they transacted online. I subsequently went and set up a consultancy and did a few other things in relation to internet policy and the protection of people in the online space.
And so you've spent quite a bit of time, therefore, working on the whole question of how to keep users safe online, including children as well as adults.
Well, absolutely. In fact, my time in terms of internet investigations goes back to before 2000, which in internet terms is an awfully long time, as you know. And I've looked at various aspects from a police point of view, from a corporate point of view, to an academic point of view, and then advising various companies that have large activities online. So I understand the space. I certainly understand the impact, the positive impact the internet and mobile communications can have on the economy and on us as individuals. I also understand where some of the pitfalls are, particularly for children.
The legislation that gives you the powers that you'll exercise as Children's E-Safety Commissioner has now passed through both houses of Parliament. So when do you expect to have the Office of the Children's E-Safety Commissioner up and running?
The second half of 2015.
And that obviously comes after the legislation takes effect, which I think is 1 July, isn't it?
Indeed.
Now tell me, what do you think this office and your new role will be able to do to help keep children safe?
Well, the way I see this is that the legislation really provides a safety net for Australian children. There are existing policies and regimes in place with social media services today. Should those policies actually be enforced by the social media services, then complaints will be handled appropriately and Australian kids can be protected against bullying. The legislation really comes into effect should that system fail. Hopefully, there's no need for that legislation. It'll be a cooperative approach. But again, if it fails, the legislation gives significant powers to the Commissioner to protect Australian children.
So you're going to have some pretty significant resources, quite a number of people working for you. You're going to have this legislative backing, but it sounds like a big priority for you is going to be engaging cooperatively with the large social media services, the ones that are the big household names in Australia, but also then, of course, reaching out to some of the smaller services, typically based overseas, but that might well be being used by Australian children today.
Yeah, I'm a huge believer throughout my entire career, no matter what form it's taken, of sitting down and talking to people about what the expectation of behaviour is. I think most of these sites, in my experience, and I've worked with a lot of them over time, want to do the right thing, think they are doing the right thing and will do the right thing by Australian kids. It's a matter of picking up those edge cases in those larger sites, and it is establishing a relationship with some of the other smaller international sites that Australian kids will be using to ensure that we have a way of communicating with those sites when we see that an Australian child is at risk.
Well, thank you, Alastair, and good luck as you take up this important new role.
Thanks, Paul. I'm excited about it.
Very good.